Hello, assalamualaikum, everybody. I hope the ones listening online, I hope it's clear. Okay, welcome back. Those who are here, thank you very much for your presence. We are here for the first workshop, day 1. And today we've got the pleasure of inviting our acquaintance, actually, from the university next door. Actually, our faculty is just next door to this university called University Tun Hussein on Malaysia, UTHM. So she is from there. So the topic that she's gonna present today, Dr. Mimi Naharia Azwani Muhammad. She's from Center for Language Studies, University Tun Hussein on Malaysia. She's gonna talk about unraveling social intelligence in written discourse, implications for teaching and learning. Very interesting indeed. I'll just mention a little bit about Dr. Bimia. She is a senior lecturer at the Center of Language Studies. She is a person of reference of the English language higher education assessment in Malaysia, ILHAM. This is my first time knowing this. Listening Focus Group, formerly known as Malaysia English Assessment, MIA, administered by the Ministry of Higher Education. She is a reviewer of many journals, articles, national and international standards and conferences, including journals by Elsevier and Taylor and Francis. Dr. Mimi is currently a research fellow at the Institute of Social Transformation and Regional Development, Transform, UTHM, and an affiliate researcher at the Malaysia Research Institute for Vocational Education and Training, MyRevet. She's also a member of Global Engineers Language Skills network, led by 3 researchers from University of Cambridge, UK, KTH Royal Institute of Technology, Stockholm, Sweden, and Institute of Mind Telecom, France. Very impressive. Her research interests include English for Specific Purposes, ESP, English for the Workplace, language assessment, intercultural communication, applied linguistics, and social intelligence. So without further delay, let's hear it for Dr. Mimi and her exciting topic today. Okay, that's 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Fiza. And Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for coming to this session. I actually feel a bit attached to this mic because I can't move around. Okay, anyway, so can I just now put sorry about that. Oh, that was fun. Okay, testing. All right, so I'm going to talk about unraveling social intelligence in written discourse, implications for teaching and learning. Right. So, first of all, let's talk about social intelligence. How many of you have ever heard of the term social intelligence? Okay, emotional intelligence, IQ, yes, intelligent quotient. So we are very familiar with IQ, but little exposure to emotional intelligence or EQ, and even less exposure to social intelligence. Now, I came across this term about 3 or 4 years ago, and I had the chance to communicate and attend a few or a couple of sessions on social intelligence, talk given by, we have a licensed expert in social intelligence in Malaysia, which is Jiva Saminathan. So if you look up for her on LinkedIn, you will see her. And also she's trained by Dr. Liu Beyer from the US, but she's more into civility. Social intelligence is part of civility. Okay, so social intelligence is basically, before that it was developed by a psychologist, Edward Thorndike. He was the first to develop social intelligence, and after that it was developed further by other psychologists. Some of them are Carl Albrecht and Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman is also an expert in emotional intelligence. So his idea of social intelligence is based on, came from emotional intelligence, then developed into social intelligence. Now, what is actually social intelligence? Basically, it's the ability to read people's feelings, respond to those feelings with empathy, and build relationship with other people. This involves, or you can see this in communication, interactions, human interactions. It's also about being conscious and sensitive towards other people's emotions. Now, you may think that, oh, I have to think about other people before I do something. Isn't that like not being yourself? No, this is a bit different. You can be yourself, but you think about other people and think about how you react, or how do you communicate with these people so that you will get the outcome that you want. Okay, so I will elaborate this further. All right, and then it is also the capacity to talk clearly and persuasively, which requires saying the right thing at the right moment. Now, sometimes we say the right thing, but it's not the right moment. And it's the right moment, but we said the wrong thing. So this is the ability or the capacity to do this. That is what social intelligence is about. Okay, now basically communication itself is not only about communicating information. Like I want to tell Dr. Fiza, Dr. Fiza, the weather outside is very hot. That is basically giving information. But let's say I don't know Dr. Fiza, and I stand beside her, we just stand there quietly, and I said, oh, Fiza, it's very hot outside. Am I giving information to her, or am I creating conversation, or trying to start a conversation with her? So this is what communication is about in the perspective of social intelligence. But then again, saying the right thing at the right moment, and when you want to create, or you want to start off the conversation, you also need to think about, okay, how can I say this, or how do I start the conversation? Because I also need to know about the culture. So this is about thinking about the emotion or feelings of other people before you say something. This is what social intelligence is about. Okay, and in a workplace context, let's say you are the group leader of a project. Now your boss has told you, all right, I want this done in 2 hours. So you have all your group or team members in the group. So how do you say things to your group members so that they will help you out in completing the task without being intimidated? Do you say, hey, you must finish this in 2 hours? You may get the outcome you want, but no, you may get the outcome, but not the outcome that you want. And in the end, your relationship with your team members can also be affected. So again, social intelligence is about communicating with other people, saying the right thing so as to care for other people in the way you say it, and you get the outcome, and you still have the pleasant environment. So that is what social intelligence is about. Now, in the workplace context, more and more employers have started to value social intelligence. So what does this say? So as educators at higher learning institutions, we have to think about how can we equip our students with social intelligence so that they can be able to communicate, interact effectively with their colleagues, with their peers, with their team members, and get the outcome that they want and still have a very positive environment. Okay. So why is it important in the workplace? I think I've already sort of said this earlier. So individuals with high social intelligence are able to communicate effectively. Now, it's not only about effective communication, it's also about creating that relationship with peers, with colleagues, positive environment so that you can be more productive. So you can also, social intelligence can also help people to resolve conflicts by creating relationship with peers, making them approachable. And they are able to articulate ideas and complete team projects effectively. Okay, now how can social intelligence be observed? Now, normally social intelligence be observed in oral interactions. That's very common. Okay, so how you say things, what is the reaction of other people, the reaction of the recipients of that information or instruction. There you can see it from paralinguistic cues, facial expression, body language, posture, movements, and whatnot. But how do you actually look or observe social intelligence in terms of the written discourse? Okay, but of course, when you talk about WhatsApp, for example, now sometimes we receive messages from our friends or colleagues that doesn't have any punctuations at all. Or sometimes you receive messages with all caps. So what does that say? Okay, so these are the things that we need to consider when you communicate from the perspective of social intelligence. So in this workshop, I'm going to share with you how my team and we did research on social intelligence in terms of written discourse and how we analyze a resume to observe social intelligence. Okay, basically a resume is a tool to market someone's capabilities, someone's skills, someone's experience and whatnot. And from a resume, basically people are not that concerned about resume. They just simply put, they think that, oh, experience is important. So just put in all experiences that they have without thinking whether they are relevant, or the way they write their experiences in the resume are also not considered. Okay, but a resume is actually not only providing information about someone's capabilities or values, but also it is a tool for the writer of the resume to interact with the readers or the human resource officers. So you actually want to interact with these recruiters so that the recruiters are interested in you, to know more about you, and in that way they will call you for an interview. So like based on my experience with my students, when we ask them to produce a resume, they simply take templates, copy paste sentences, or now we have AI, produce my resume, and that's it. There is no authenticity, there's no originality, there's no to do cooking. People will say, oh, you must cook from your heart, right? So it's the same thing. When you do your resume, you must do the resume or produce the resume based on your heart. You have to be honest. You have to show that, okay, these are the things that I'm capable of. And recruiters or human resource managers, they can know whether you really wrote that resume or it's a template. Okay. We actually interviewed a few human resource managers, and many of them have mentioned that, these are all templates, not original. They can see. Okay. All right. So a resume needs to be more than simply providing information about one's educational background. So it's how it is written, and it's what it is written, which is the information, and how it is written so that it can be interpreted according to the intended meaning. Now, when we examine the resume, before we examine it based on social intelligence, we examine it through the language form and function analysis, which is transactional and interactional. So transactional function focuses on the message. So the accuracy of the message is very important. Language is not that important, even if there are grammatical mistakes. From the transactional point of view, it's not important as long as the message is clear. However, from the interactional function, language accuracy can affect the relationship between this is in the context of the resume, between the writer and the reader. I will show you some opinions given by the human resource officers regarding the resumes that they examined, that we have shown them during our data collection. Okay, so as I said, as an example, like I said earlier, if you say something, what does it mean? So if you say, my goodness, it's cold, are you giving the information, or are you trying to establish a social relationship? So if you only give information, it's transactional. But if you are trying to be friendly and trying to establish social relationship, it's interactional. Okay, so in terms of a resume, when we examine the resume, we believe that a resume needs to be both transactional and interactional. Transactional, giving the information about the values of the candidates, but at the same time, the candidates or the writers need to establish a social relationship with the reader, who are the human resource officers. Okay, so in the context of resume, language accuracy can affect the relationship between the writer and the reader. Okay, we also look into persuasive language, because in order to establish relationship with the reader of the resume, the writers also need to use persuasive language, but the writer to avoid self-centered language. Self-centered language, like that reflects what a person's get. For example, a writer of the resume, a student, write there, oh, I want to gain experience. By joining your company, I want to gain experience. So it's more benefit for the writer, for the student, rather than contributing to the company. So that is self-centered language. So according to, based on the literature, resumes that reflect self-centered language has the high tendency of being rejected. Okay, and even Albrecht mentioned that if you are self-centered, preoccupied with your own feelings, needs and interests, then it's difficult for people to accept you. All right, so in examining the resumes from the context of transactional and interactional, we also use the skills outlined by Richards, 2015, but we only selected the skills related to written discourse because the skills outlined by Richard more for human oral interaction. So these are the skills related to written discourse. So if in the resume, it explains of the intention of the writer, so that is transactional. If it recounts personal incidents and experience, then that also is interactional. So in other words, in a resume, I'm not trying to say resume is only transactional or resume is only interactional, but there are transactional and interactional elements in the resume. So these are the social dimensions of social intelligence. In this workshop, I only focus on Albrecht, but if you search for more information on social intelligence, there will be other framework that you can go through or refer to. But for this workshop, I'm going to look at Albrecht's 5 dimensions of social intelligence, or also known as SPACE: situational awareness, presence, authenticity, clarity, and empathy. So situational awareness is the ability to perceive one's social situations that enables them to perform appropriate action. So how to read the situation. Is it a good time to say this? Things like that, okay? And then presence, the attitude that the individuals portray to the public and how their personality is consistent with what they portray. So maybe you can hear from people's statements or claims that you know that, okay, in terms of their thinking, it's this. But then are their behaviors, their actions consistent with what they think? We do have people who say, oh, people should not do this, this is this, but at the same time, they did it, people should not do. So this is in terms of presence. And then authenticity, the degree to which someone is perceived as being honest and ethical. Clarity, delivering clear messages that fit the purpose to avoid misinterpretations. Empathy, the skills of being empathized towards other people's situations in order to relate to them. So these are the 5 dimensions of social intelligence. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how we examined the resumes. But of course, in a resume, you have different components. You have a career goal, you have experiences, you have skills, and then you have referees and whatnot. But the one that I'm showing you here is only from a career goal. Okay. Okay. So for the first resume, the writer, so I'm going to refer to the candidate as the writer, the producer of this resume. Okay, so the writer of this resume has written the name of the position, which is assistant baker. And then of course, you may find that sometimes this is also AI generated, but it's how the writer contextualize accordingly. All right. So here is a she. Okay. She, a skilled baker, enthusiastic about adding modern twists to classic baked goods, specializing in producing high quality donuts, cookies, cupcakes, and tarts, all the sweet things, okay? Experienced in developing new recipes and fulfilling customers' orders. Now, you may think that, oh, what's so special about this? Okay, now, first of all, it is important for the writer of a resume to write the name of the position. The absence of the name of the position shows that perhaps this resume is a one-size-fits-all resume. So it's not according to a specific position. And it is not stated what kind of position that the writer is applying to. Okay, and then when you look at the word, remember just now I have highlighted about persuasive language, about self-centered language. Okay, and then after this I will map that against the dimensions. All right, now writing the name of the position is very important, because from there you will see the rest of the elaboration. It will support the position that the writer is applying for. Okay. Now, skilled baker. This word, skilled baker, producing high quality donuts. These are actually explaining about the skills that the writer has. So she has the baking skills. She can produce high quality products. Okay, right? So, and experience. So these are all in terms of transactional, giving information. Okay. Then you have enthusiastic about adding modern twists. The word enthusiastic can be considered as persuasive language. The expression adding modern twists. So what does that mean? Or adding modern twists to classic baked goods. What does that mean? What does that refer to? It means that the writer has innovation. The writer has creativity to change traditional goods into something modern. That's a twist. So what kind of personality does that give? What kind of impression does that give to the recruiters? So, and then it's also about what can the writer contribute to the company. So you can see the contribution. So if, let's say I'm a recruiter, if I hire this person, so she will help me to innovate all the products. All right. So yeah, okay. So I want to know more. How does she do that? So that is one tick to be shortlisted for an interview, right? So this is creating or establishing relationship or interacting with the reader, okay? And developing new recipes. Oh, new recipes. What kind of recipes are you going to develop? Okay, I want to know more. So again, creating a relationship between the writer and the reader. This is interactional, okay? So if you look at human resource opinion, so this one, the elaboration there is actually elaborating on the reasons for wanting to become an assistant baker. She wants to produce high quality donuts. She wants to develop new recipes. She wants to add modern twists. So these are all values to the company that she's applying to. So this could be could trigger the recruiters to call this person to be interviewed to know more. Whether they succeed in the interview or not, that's beside the point. But this is the first step for her to be to have a chance to be called for an interview. Okay, so let's look at the HR's opinion. I want to highlight. I can 1, 2, 3, for. Okay, some applicants use a one-size-fits-all resume. All right. So if you look back at this one, is this actually one-size-fits-all kind of resume or career goal? It's customized according to the assistant baker position. And then point number three, it would be good when applicants can customize their resumes according to the position that they are applying for. So those are the things that can be seen in the first resume. Okay, and the others are all some other opinions. There are other opinions. Okay, if you look at number 1, language represents who you are. To me, grammatical error is fatal. Now, when you talk about grammatical error, you can't look at it from the perspective of as a linguist. Sometimes, you get what I mean? From the perspective of the industry, they can say, oh, this is grammatically correct, but when we as a linguist look at it, there are some errors. But anyway, so from their perspective of grammatical accuracy, if they see that, okay, that's spelling error, or that's a punctuation problem, or spelling error, or, you know, gives instead of give, objectives instead of objective, for example. So they can see that. So those are considered as grammatical errors for them, and it's fatal. Even though it's the slightest error is fatal to them, that can affect their feelings towards reading through the resume. So that's why I said just now, in terms of interactional, in terms of establishing a relationship, language error is fatal. It's very important. Okay, it's very important for them to make sure that there is no language errors. Okay. So when we look at the dimensions of social intelligence, I'm just going to touch about social situational awareness and also clarity. After this, if you want to know more, then maybe if we have time, then I will elaborate more. So in terms of situational awareness, which is the ability to perceive one's situation, social situations, the writer of the first resume 1 can anticipate that, okay, that means she needs to do research about the company. She needs to do research about the culture of the company, get information about the company. All right. So she's able to anticipate that, all right, they want to know me according to the position that I want to apply for. So I have to write it according to the position. So there's situational awareness. Okay. And then clarity, she was able to provide clear information, reasons for wanting that position. Or I want to show you that I can develop new recipe. I want to show you that I can give a modern twist to classic goods. So those are the things that are related to social intelligence. Okay, so resume 1, the writer has addressed transactional and interactional functions of language, demonstrated situational awareness by customizing the resume, and demonstrated clarity, indicated the contributions to the company, how she can contribute to the company, and also clearly stated reasons for applying for the post. Okay. All right, this is resume 2. In this case, the position of the position applied is not stated. Now, if you look at these words or these skills, so this person, he has a leadership skill. He has problem-solving skills. He has organizational skills, transactional information about the skills. Okay. and also somewhat like persuasive language, passionate. Okay, but here's the thing. Position applied is not stated. So that could damage the attempt to establish the relationship between the writer and the reader. The reader would look for, okay, what position are you applying for? You must remember, for a company, they do when they blast the advertisements, it's not only for one vacancy, for one job. They may have 3 or 4 other jobs that they advertise. So as an applicant, the writer needs to indicate what position that he or she is applying for. Okay, and next one is looking for experience to improve the skills and knowledge learned. So what is that? Is that contribution to the company? That's not. That's why. What language is that? Self-centered language. So what did the literature say about self-centered language? It's more about, oh, this is what I want. This is how I feel. So is there contribution to the company? So that can affect the relationship between the writer and the reader. Okay, and then you have all about what I want, seeking knowledge, developing self-confidence, so that I can lead the working environment. So it's all about me, nothing about what I can contribute to the company. So this is an example of how social intelligence, lack of social intelligence can affect your chance of being called for an interview. Okay, so self-centered language, even Albrecht said that if you are preoccupied with your own feelings of your own needs, then it's difficult for other people to accept you. So in this case, transactional may have been achieved because he has given information about the skills that he has. But in terms of interactional, it's not achieved. And then it can affect clarity. It affects the relationship that needs to be built between the writer and the reader, and therefore clarity may not be achieved. So lack of situational awareness did not address expectations. Now for resume 3, I purposely did not put anything. So if you want to try, what do you think about this resume? This is only the career goal. It's not the whole resume. You're only looking at the career goal part. Anyone want to try? No? Okay. Now, position applied, software developer. Okay, that's a tick. Okay, passionate and analytical university student. Passionate, persuasive. Analytical, that's the skills. Okay, working toward information technology in VV University. So do you really understand that statement? What is this person trying to say? That's information. Working toward information technology, what does that? Transactional. And then even the meaning of that, what does he mean by university student working toward information technology? Is it working towards developing information technology skills or what? Okay, so there, the language itself is not clear. So in terms of clarity in social intelligence, it's not there. Okay, aim to gain experience. So this one is self-centered language. What I want, and apply knowledge of software developing at XX Sdn Mahat. Again, what is this? The language. You know, so this can affect the relationship between the writer and the reader. Okay, between the writer and the reader, right? All right, so implications for teaching and learning. In terms of teaching and learning, so how can we develop social intelligence in communication among our students? Before we can do that, we as educators, we need to understand what is social intelligence. We need to adopt the dimensions in our teaching and learning. We need to integrate that in the curriculum, in the syllabus, in our delivery, in teaching. And then after that, we help the students to understand social intelligence. We help them to develop social intelligence and make them aware of the importance of social intelligence. All right. And then emphasizing the importance of resume among future graduates. As I have mentioned earlier, some, even based on my experience, the students are not that keen in producing their own resumes. They are keen in other things. They think that, oh, I have knowledge in this, that's enough. And I have comment from some of my students also when they did the resume, when they looked at the advertisement, they said, oh, I'm qualified, I have all these skills, but they are not able to elaborate that in their resume or demonstrate how they use these skills in their resumes. So emphasizing the importance of resumes and producing resumes on their own is also important, because this is where they can showcase their social intelligence. All right. Okay, so I think with that, I will open for any question if there's any, or if you want me to elaborate more on other things.
Okay. Michelle. Okay. Okay, thank you, Dr. Mimi, for that awareness raising in terms of social intelligence. Yes, we've probably heard of it, but we probably more enlightened by it today for the first time, probably for some of us. Okay, any questions from the floor? There was an interesting talk, and Dr. Sam, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'll just use my voice instead of chat.
Ada tu?
Come on. Yes, tak apalah. I'll just ask. Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Yeah.
I'm Tony. I can see that this is very useful in the office context, especially when you're recruiting new people, but it can also be used during training and development. Have you tried that?
Okay, thank you for the question.
Yes.
Okay, as I mentioned, we just started doing the research on social intelligence, looking at resume. So at the moment, we only look at resume, and we are planning to look at other things as well in terms of written discourse. And yes, in terms of training, if you talk about oral interaction, that can also be possible in terms of research. We can do that in terms of training or developing social intelligence among students or other perhaps lecturers or any university staff or any other group of people. That is possible. If you talk about training people for social intelligence, I'm afraid I'm not the expert in that, and I'm not licensed to to train, because to train this, you have to have a license. We do have in Malaysia one, as I mentioned earlier, one person who has the license to train social intelligence. And she also provides training for people to develop social intelligence. Yes. Okay. Have I answered your question? Okay.
Any more? Yes, sir.
They are mainly prepared by others sometimes, but we cannot understand the social intelligence.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because as I said, recruiters, they can identify whether, oh, this is AI generated, or it's a template, or someone else's is producing the resume for them. Sometimes the resume is too good to be true. So
but they should have other social intelligence. The recruiters, they are not being that much push. They read it and then they look some key points there.
yeah, true.
They don't go that much deep.
Yeah, because social intelligence in the workplace is something which is starting to something that is starting to be a trend. It's not widely done yet. I mean, it's not not all companies is looking for social intelligence yet, but as I said, more and more employers are starting to look into it.
To bring discussions, or they may give them some task they do.
Yes,
They
yes.
want to see how they behave in this situation, but from writing, I'm not sure whether they can.
Oh, that is during an interview. So what I am trying to share with you here is because you want to have a chance to get called for shortlisted for an interview, so that you can really showcase your social intelligence. So in terms of written discourse, in terms of resume, that is the first thing that recruiters will look at and to call for an interview or not. So one of the ways to outshine, because competition is very high, one of the ways to outshine is try to include social intelligence in written discourse, so that perhaps it can help you have a better chance of being called for an interview. Yes. I'm not saying that, you will definitely be called, but it's like you have a better chance of being called for an interview.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you. Any more questions?
I do have another
You do
question,
have.
like,
Yes, go ahead, Sam.
Yes.
It's all right. Go ahead.
My question is that if it's produced by artificial intelligence, would that be a problem to recruiters? I mean, that's the first stage of receive two. So first of all, okay, this one looks interesting. Although it is AI generated,
Prompts.
but it
Good prompts.
jives with what we want. Is that a problem?
Well, as I said, recruiters can know this is not genuine. They would question whether is this really true, or is this good to be true? If they have they think about this resume for more than 3 seconds, I'm not going to, yeah. So they want to have a resume where they can read through. Okay, you decide whether you want to call this person for an interview or not. But if they have to think too good to be true, you see, so that's what happens.
I'm also interested to follow up on that question just now. Usually, nowadays they give the resume and the online resume, right? And the video, the Visime. Yeah. So how's Visimes able to tap social intelligence, or rather how social intelligence can tap from resumes, whether the students are, there or not.
Okay, now in terms of video as well, resume, not many companies accept resumes. They prefer the old school traditional resumes where they can print out and then they can bring in to the interview, and look through the resume again during the interview session. But answering to your question, well, resume is even easier for you to observe, because you can see the paralinguistic cues, the facial expression, the smiles, the posture and whatnot, whether you are really enthusiastic to apply for this job or not, isn't it? So that's even easier for you to observe.
Any other questions? We have probably one more minute. I have one last one. Okay. How would we bring in social intelligence in the context of teaching? What implications would that be with educators in terms of their success? What do we do? How do we implement that?
Okay, so this is just if you want to go for training, as I said, I'm not the expert, or I don't have the license to train people about social intelligence. But in terms of teaching and learning, what we can do is, first of all, as I said, we need to understand social intelligence ourselves. We can't incorporate social intelligence if you don't understand it. So social intelligence is basically about your relationship with others, and it also concerns emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is actually part of the social intelligence. So you have emotion and how you use this emotion to interact with others. Okay, so emotional intelligence is about how you maintain or control your emotion, and control other people's emotion. But social intelligence is more than that. Not only about controlling your emotion, but also how you interact with other people. So as educators, we need to have this ability to anticipate the feelings and the needs of our students. Like earlier, the keynote speaker have mentioned about the alpha generation and how they react to teaching approaches and whatnot. So we as educators, we have to learn what do they want, and in that process we incorporate in our teaching and help them to develop their social intelligence. How, at the moment, I'm still learning too, so I can't really give suggestions, but the idea is there. All right.
Some creativity.
Yes.
Skills, some analytical skills. That we develop.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right. So that shows how much we need more from you and also probably from the literature of social intelligence that we can start learning. Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Mimi, for that enlightening experience on this new topic. Probably not so new, but new to us. Okay. Thank you very much. And I pass it back to the MC. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Okay, thank you, Doctor. So for today's last session, all participants may proceed to the seminar.